You say you're good at eating, but what you must figure out is if your liver won't quiver and shrivel when eveners hang out. You walk the city of sin, the fleet is filling up, and yes, before the evening is over, we'll all be stone drunk. We'll all be seeing old friends. We'll all be playing cards. And so, Space Bros, I'll meet you in the bar. Luck be my FC tonight. Luck be my FC tonight. Christ, I've been drinking so much. What was that guy saying? Luck be my FC tonight. Luck help me find my squad before this party moves on. This year's Eve Vegas is the greenest gate you'll jump through. Luck turns all brackets off. And FC never docks up without content. And we can camp, we got all night. And FC doesn't squander a chance to go on a roam, insure your ships, and let's do it right. So let's keep this conference polite. Standing set blue for tonight. Stick with me, new bro, we've been partying since downtime. Luck be my FC tonight. Luck help me find my squad before this party moves on. This year's Eve Vegas is the greenest gate you'll jump through. Luck turns all brackets off. And FC never docks up without content. And we can camp, we got all night. And FC doesn't squander a chance to go on a roam, insure your ships, and let's do it right. So let's keep this conference polite. Standing set blue for tonight. Stick with me, new bro, we've been partying since downtime. Luck be my FC. Luck be my FC. Luck be my FC.
Ah, the blue donuts were good.
Okay, Eric's a mute.
Uh-oh, we're here. Eric's got sunglasses on.
I got sunglasses on, dude.
Awesome.
I'm ready to go golfing right after this show. I got the hat from Vegas. You can't hear me?
It's the deal with his glasses.
Oh.
The thing is, I
can
think
hear me.
Eric doesn't realize. Now he knows.
No, it muted me when I switched channels because I was trying to switch channels. So I want to welcome our audience to another episode of Whiskey Gaming where we can't get sound right ever. There's going to be no fucking week where we get the sound right.
Nope.
Never going to happen.
It takes too much effort.
I don't even know why. It's weird. It's strange. It's like, chat was working. Now chat's not working. Maybe I'll get it working. I don't know.
I'll tell you why. Like,
There it is.
sound
There.
was the most awkward thing to actually get like properly done on a streaming kind of platform like this,
Yeah.
because all of the streaming kind of tools center around visuals. They never really
They do.
flesh out the audio side of it.
I don't know what they're doing. So anyhow, I'm ready. I just felt like wearing the glass. I've been wearing this since soccer this morning. I'm ready. I'm all black and like Johnny Cash black, all the way down. Help, new subscriber, Shandragon, resubscribe. Hey, thanks, Shandragon. By the way, Shandragon, there he is. I haven't talked to Shandragon in like fucking ever. He's a cool guy. I like how that bops right down in front of you and I, the clown.
Shandragon's a fucking legend.
So hope everybody enjoyed that video from Vegas because when I was talking to Ungar, he's like, I got this really great song. I really channeled it great. I think it sounds awesome. But we just couldn't release it before Vegas. We just didn't feel right. Just something was wrong. And he said they were going to release it after Vegas. And then they montaged all our pictures being at Vegas as many as they did. It was kind of cool. And
I like that video.
yeah, it was kind of hip. So yeah.
We were playing count every time Sight shows up in the pictures. Because I'm in like half of it in the background doing something odd.
So it looks like somebody impersonating Paladine just subscribed. Thank you very much. So hey, Shandragon, yeah, just waking up with some coffee and chicken tenders. Hot damn.
That's called Southern brunch.
Yeah, but he's not Southern, right? You throw some maple syrup on top of those chicken fingers with some waffles, and you got something there.
You got
That ain't the premium sauce to use though, bro. Like that ain't the
honey mustard is the
sauce.
premium sauce for breakfast.
No, the was it Szechuan
bacon grease
sauce is the premium sauce. That went on eBay for like $1,000 or something.
That's because of Rick and Morty, and let's set the record straight. The Szechuan sauce is not the joke, people. The joke is that he spent his fucking dying moments making a joke about Szechuan sauce. Right?
And
like, people are going to McDonald's and getting mad at McDonald's because they don't have Szechuan sauce. I'm like, y'all don't even get the joke. What's wrong with you?
Oh wow. And Shavin Pack goes out there and chat. He goes, now he knows who the Lost Beetle, or now we know where the Lost Beetle is. Yes, we do. That was a great pick from me, Vegas. The Lost Beetle pick. It was awesome. I don't know what you guys are drinking, but I had a brand new bottle that I hadn't cracked open, so I decided to crack it open. I got the Firefly Low Country, for those in the southern U.S., Low Country sweet tea. I feel the need for some Low Country boil for dinner, but I'm not going to get it.
I got a pretty awesome hard cider.
Ooh, hard cider. Well, it is autumn. Hard cider, definitely. Caleb, what do you got?
I'm just on opioid painkillers.
Opioid painkillers. Here we are today, fighting opioid addiction, and what did you injure that you need some painkillers, Caleb?
It's my fucking wrist. I did something horrible, and I don't know if it's a strain thing or a pinched nerve or something, but it hurts.
Is it your right or left wrist?
Yeah, it's my fat hand, so it's a fat injury, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
You Europeans.
Yeah, so it's
Fat
like a 3-week no fat from now on.
I come from that era. It was like, you're just jerking off. Now, when did this fucking thing, fapping, come into play here? Because, I'm an old guy.
I think like 4 years ago or 5 years ago when Family Guy made a reference to it, and that's the noise they used. There you go.
Oh my god. Shandragon, his birthday's in 3 days, and he has almost full bottle of Wild Turkey American Honey Bourbon.
Shit.
Honey bourbon. Blah. That's just cough syrup, people.
cough syrup.
So honestly, I have a bottle of Honey Jack here, and I use it as cough syrup. So here you go. It's got the same shit. It's got honey and alcohol. That's what cough syrup is. With some purple. You need to add some purple to it.
Fireside, yeah, this is not the fireside. We never find out. We never find out what happens in the fireside because we're here.
That's
you know.
Sorry, that's purple drink, not purple juice, right?
No, it's just purple.
purple.
A little bit, a couple
Just
drops of
purple.
pink, or a couple drops of red food color, and a couple drops of blue food color, and give it a little swiggle.
Oh, okay.
Swiggle it up, and then it's purple now. Cough syrup.
Did you guys ever watch The Tipsy Bartender? While we're waiting for oh, definitely pick him up. He's like he's got a Twitter account. And he does he has bartenders come to make different drinks, and usually they're fairly attractive bartenders. He added something to a drink the other day. It was silver and pearl edible powder, and it made it just like you just like swirl the drink. It was so freaky. I mean, making these drinks for chicks would be just like at the beach would be awesome. If I was young again, it would be good. Well, Southern Comfort Sweet Tea out there. Excellent. All right.
I'm drinking just Gentleman Jack in a glass.
Ooh, Gentleman Jack. This stuff is smooth. That's nice. I like
That
it.
stuff is actually really good. I didn't think I liked it at first. That first hit off, I guess I needed to get some air in there or something, but that first hit off it was kind of like, this tastes about the same as the regular one.
That's that thing. That guy gave you that giant free sample of Jack and Coke, and now you're just addicted, and you have to drink Jack a lot.
He gave me a free sample of Jack Daniels?
It wasn't exactly free, but the quantity of it, half a fucking
The
bottle
quantity
for
of it
$10.
was discounted. Yeah.
So, hey, when we were in Vegas, you guys remember what drink I told you about, right? That one we were on Fremont Street, that Call Cab.
No.
You drink
go
one,
on.
and then you immediately have to call a cab because you're fucked out your face.
Oh, I thought that was the drink that McLeod gave us a couple of weeks ago.
No,
that
it's
he
like,
called
hey,
the fucking...
for anybody out in the audience, if you ever been to Savannah, Georgia, and you went to Wet Willie's, they got. If you know this drink, you stop by. Like if you go down to River Street, you always stop by Wet Willie's first, and you get a call a cab because you're done.
You're done.
You're started for the night.
I'm gonna remember that next time I'm down south.
Nice.
I have the ingredients right here in front of me, but yeah, they're tasty though.
We'll get one of those for Mrs. Eric and see how fast she can have to go back to the room again, right?
I remember the
really bad.
That is why Mrs. Eric is in no pictures in Vegas.
Mrs. Eric died.
She fought
had to go
Vegas, and Vegas won. Definitely.
Vegas
I remember
Kicked her
I remember
ass.
the concoction. I remember the concoction that people ended up making for I think it's the London player meets, called Pos Fuel. Like the full-on Pos Fuel kind of concoction costs about approximately from the bar costs about £100, which is about $160-ish, $160-ish. So yeah, if you can imagine like dropping $160 on a single drink. But it gets you fucked so quickly.
Call a cab there. To answer your rocks, Mrs. Eric loves Vegas. She liked during the day hanging out with Ingris's wife, Ingris from Tritanium Industries, and Mrs. DeMorg. They all hung out and did some things throughout the day. She loved that. However, and she liked the goons. She particularly liked Ungar. She thought Ungar was very cool. She liked him. After that, though, she was just drinking too much and she didn't make it. So, as RJ and Scythe witnessed, she didn't do too good. So yeah, she doesn't watch this show, so I'm not worried about it. She's out running again. She ran a race this morning and she's out running again. I don't know what she's doing. She's crazy. So anyhow, hey, we wanted to talk about a few things. Number one, since we did the E-Vegas thing, if you ever have a chance to go to a big goon meet, hang out with a bunch of goons and other people who play Eve, do it because it's really fucking cool. I know Caleb, you've done it. Go ahead.
I heard that a bunch of goons got a really good deal on going to a particular club.
Mm-hmm. If you said the password, you drank very cheaply. It was very good. Unlimited.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
cheap-
by that
To the point where you
Oh, fun.
probably, to the point where you pushed the bar into a deficit, I think, for the night.
Might have.
Yeah, they may have misthought that unfortunately. I don't think they thought that through.
Yeah, they did. No, I don't think we'll get that deal again.
It's like the T-Rex with the short arms.
So,
Amazing.
So we want to talk about a few things. Hold it. Before we go on to actual Eve stuff, we'll do partial Eve stuff. How was wearing that shirt that you're wearing right now? How'd that go at work for you, RJ?
All right, so I gotta wear. I can wear polos and stuff to shirts. I wear to work. I wear button downs and everything. So I decided to sport my corp a little bit, and I got my awesome patriotic tendencies. Give Sport Federation shirt here. I walk in. The first thing they say is that a bee with a dick? And mind you, like I'm kind of like a really professional place or whatever, and it's all business casual type stuff. But we can have little logos or whatever, and they look close and like, and it's aviation stuff. So like, yeah, it's A10, the Avenger gun or whatever, because everybody there loves A10. But every time they step farther away, like, dude, you can't wear that. That looks like a bee with a freaking big ass penis. Like, you can't wear that anymore. So
amazing.
I got my corp shirt banned from work.
Almost instantly, mind you, like within an hour.
Dude, yeah, it was
much-
really, really quick too.
Did they-
be with a dick?
Did they
Just
make
so
you put
much
like?
gurgoons just in life.
I know that's terrible. I feel offended.
Oh man, I was so offended by your shirt, RJ.
Is that a bee with a penis?
Oh my god,
You know what? We made it.
big penis.
We made it
That
all
made
the
it
way
big.
through E Vegas. Like three of us wearing those shirts, right? And nobody said, "Hey, that's a bee with a penis." I told you to get it on the
Nope.
sleeve because we did ours on the sleeve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's the golf way. It's the golf way. Yeah.
I don't play.
But now we almost need the art department to make us a dong bee.
Holy crap! We have got
Yeah,
like
we just got
5 or 6
we got
subscribers.
we just got 2 new subscribers. Thank you very much, Jason Galente, and thank you very much, Out for Justice.
Yeah.
For Justice.
Logistics, yeah, definitely. So, and thank you, and yeah, we really appreciate that.
But on the shirts, I do get away with my little Eve pod shirt and my 07 shirt.
Well, of course,
So,
because they don't look
that's
like
fine, yeah.
penises.
They don't look like bees with giant penises.
I don't know. It's a
You
good
should
thing,
you should
right?
you should take that particular kind of infraction that they served on you for that particular phallic symbol, and basically just complain about anything that looks remotely phallic in the office in the
Yeah.
workplace in,
Did they
in
make you
general.
Did they make you
Try
put
and
scotch
ban
tape?
pin.
No, they
Just-
didn't make
just-
me put
just to
gosh,
see.
They told me they didn't write me up, but they're like, don't ever wear that here again.
It's Andre. That's not my stinger you're looking at.
They like the name though. They like the corp name.
That's cool. So, now we got that out of the way because we did promise to talk about it. Caleb's over there. He's itching to talk Moon Goo because that's our big lifeblood change, right? So we go from bee with a penis to Moon Goo. So you guys go figure that one out, right? So Moon Goo.
That's how Goo is
It is
made.
gonna fuck up the entire fucking market in Eve. That's my prediction.
Go rage, Eric. Go rage.
Hashtag even.
That's not rage. That's just a comment. I really don't care if the market gets fucked up. See, I'd have to be mad about it for it to be rage. You guys don't understand. I don't really care. It's a game.
Well, Tezzy was on Talking Stations, talking a little bit about it because he's doing all the logistic stuff and rolling out the whole infrastructure for Goons, and he just put a lot of the numbers in perspective, and it was pretty obvious that I think a lot of people have been underestimating how much labor strain is actually going to come from this and how much the drought is going to hit. I had expectations of something in the realm of 20 to 30 days, but I think that's only going to be relevant for organizations like Goons that can actually roll it out almost instantly because they've been preparing it. But everyone else, it's definitely going to be, like he said, it's going to be 2-3 months at the minimum. It's more likely to be like 6 months out before everything is like up to speed and Moon goo is flowing.
Yeah,
I've been looking at non T2 stuff that I can use to sort of basically PvP for not as much ISK. And actually, like, what the savior of it is going to be? Like, we might end up like the price of best named stuff that you get as basically just garbage out of rats, right? Might actually go up in price to the point where it's worthwhile not actually just reprocessing all of that into minerals. Like there will probably be a fairly decent market for like best named stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really what I was talking to Carneros about. The whole thing with all the things that used to be trash will now have a new value. So whether it's meta 2s, 3s, 4s, all the way you get this new spread. So nothing is considered junk anymore because people need to actually consider it in their doctrine when it comes to cost. What can you actually SRP?
And what's also going to fuel that as well is the fact that like a lot more people are going to be able to use, well, at least in December, there's going to be a lot more people who are going to use a lot more stuff to its fullest extent, really, in as an alpha clone. So
so it's a huge improvement to the spread. I like the fact that things above meta 5, so basically Tech 2 and above, is going to be considered extreme bling, and you might get the hulls SRP, but the fits maybe not so much. I think those fits SRP wise will be toned down, and that's going to mean that the whole thing of actual miners and industrialists and people that rat for blueprint copies or for good loot, that's all going to have a proper value again.
Yeah, and when I say fuck up the market, right? I mean that's the type of stuff I'm talking about, Caleb, right? Things are going to have.
I don't think it's negative. I think it's extremely positive because it will remove this whole I don't give a shit if I lose another carrier or a bling fit material. It's like that was never the intention game design wise. It was supposed to be something valuable that you don't just throw away endlessly for fun and shittles.
Yeah, but you have to be careful at the same time, right? Because remember, the cost of war isn't necessarily another inhibitor to a shitty SOV system that you want, right?
Oh yeah,
so you have to be careful.
I think the benefit is going to be that you will need to think a little bit more on how much value you invest in a war, and war material will go down in power level. So you will see that the casual use and roaming and stuff like that, or just troll-like behavior, you can use bling ships for that because then you can kind of get the risk versus reward things balanced, right? But when it comes to actually staging an entire army, you can't just fit all of them with war horses and full plate armor and lances and shit like that. That's not how the economy of war should work.
Well, and one of the things that they said on the on Talking in Stations too was the feeling that perhaps T2 modules were going to be something that were less affordable, right? Not just in the near term,
I think
but
it's
the
really
long term.
good that you tone down the fittings of actual the war machine, and then the bling is more the casual aggression stuff, and maybe things like small groups defending drilling platforms and all that stuff. I really like where this might be trending. Of course, it's going to be a horrible transition phase, and people are going to be screaming on Reddit. But I think we're going to land in a very, very good place. And it ties into what Fozzie has kind of promised us, that the meta modules, there should be some sort of change where the build cost for them, and then you start getting access to blueprint copies, maybe from the LP stores. So I'm really looking forward to something like that, because I like that better than Juricide.
Yeah, it's going to be... Oh, go ahead, RJ.
I just wanted to get to this question that's been in the chat here from Jason Galenta. And I've been hearing a lot about, the market and everything and how that's going to be trying to adjust. But it's, Jason asked, do you guys think the new Moonseed will cause new invasions? And I don't think that's actually been talked about too much.
No, I don't think invasion, because there's going to be a lot of spread, right? They're basically the existing moon access is going to be spread kind of thin. It's going to be spread out on all the 25 to 50,000 moons that's actually in the game. So I don't think there's going to be that much land grab. It's going to be more like disruption warfare, where you're trying to take down the neighbors' structures. And I think you're going to see a lot of what I call shield trolling, where they go in and just hit the first timer just to cause trouble.
I think.
Well, there's another aspect of it as well, which, I ended up doing a lot of work as an intel gatherer kind of thing, like a few years ago, etc., when I was playing EVE a little bit more kind of full time. Well, not, I wouldn't say full time. It's like a little bit more seriously, let's put it that way. And one of the things about especially when it comes to moons, is the availability of public information and the validity of that public information. Because you can never be 100% certain that what's there in public is actually absolutely 100% gospel, right? So even if people are updating social public things like say Dotlan, with particular information, like God's honest truth information about what's on one particular moon and what's on another particular moon, you kind of have to also check that as well.
I think you're on a very important topic. Yeah. The whole thing with publicly making that information available, so people can cherry pick where they want to go mine, and it ties into the whole thing. I was joking with Reaver saying, I think the biggest move that Goons could do now is open up for all of EVE, as long as they're only flying non-weaponized ships. So any mining ship is not aggressed against, but then owning all the infrastructure will then make up for that, and then closing down industry for neutrals. So you could do many things like that, basically opening up for neutrals to actually come in and just farm your fields.
Well, I don't know about that, to be completely honest, either, because coming into farm your fields, basically, essentially you're basically certifying that a certain place has a certain amount of a certain type of stuff. You kind of want to add a bit of the security through obscurity and keep it kind of within the realms of your own alliance, sort of thing. The information that you've gathered, because at the end of the day, you've put in the effort to be able to figure out what's on those moons, etc., etc. And that information is somewhat semi-valuable, at least for a short period of time. When people kind of looked around to see what moons have what, there were various different avenues on how to do it, both in-game and out-of-game. We've had 10, 15 years of people putting certain pauses on certain moons. So you could go back on things like, previously EVE kill, but now Z killboard, right? And go and look at certain moons and, go and look at certain pauses and certain things, and where certain, you could go and have a look and see what certain moons had pauses with mining, with mining drills and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you can. Dotlan has that too.
Compared to the old rental model, right? That is going to die. It's not going to work. And Tuzzy was pointing this out too.
The rental models are going to be changing completely. Because everyone has a different kind of viewpoint on it. Whether you want to keep it as previous rental models basically said that the people who renting the space didn't actually get the R32s and 64s and stuff like that. But now, because it's now not a passive activity, it's an active activity, you kind of have to look at it and go, yeah, well, we might as well get renters to actually sort of mine that stuff, and then maybe do something with that kind of thing. Look at it in a different way in terms of taxing them, or
That's why I said that a very interesting model would be to allow something like mining ships, because when they then dock up, if they can't use the industry modules on the structures in that space, they are not a threat. They are only a drone producing the material that you need, and then they can choose but they can't use it for anything.
But here's the thing.
There's a big difference between having people inside of your alliance doing that because you have the ability to do so, or having a situation where, say with CVA, where they have NRDS, not Red Don't Shoot kind of thing, situation going on. Like, you can't, if you're basically telling people from HiSec, like, oh, you can come mine here, but like, don't shoot stuff, and you're going to be taxed for the stuff that you actually end up mining. Like, no credible nullsec alliance, bar a couple maybe, will do that, because the security of their space is paramount, and having neutrals flying around is a serious issue with that security.
Yeah, but what you would maybe do is just create an umbrella alliance that anyone can join, but they don't have any access except for docking rights and market rights. If they don't have access to industry, they can't really be a threat until they try to launch assets in space. That means that they're just
they can
workers,
be
right?
a serious asset. They can be a serious threat because they can fly around your space, find people to gank light sinos and kill them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what the economic value is letting newts come into your nullsec space and mine, unless you have a way, which you don't, okay, to guarantee that they are either going to sell on your market or refine in your refineries and you can tax it. There is no economic benefit to letting this happen.
But that is what they have to do. Otherwise, they are not going to have any benefit from
you can just jump your work rolls full of compressed ore out and refine it at home.
Yeah, they don't have to refine it in your space. They can just take it home.
Industrials can just fuck out real easily. No,
it's not.
2 sinos and you're out of a region.
Yeah, but that adds to the cost. The logistic cost and the labor cost is higher than.
So we paid.
You know what?
For jump fuel, and we didn't pay any taxes to refine because we refined it at home. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's the benefit of being in a nullsec alliance, right? You can go mine there with them. If you're in neutral, fuck off. Okay, and that's what's going to happen. Unless you're in Pravi, and Pravi's going to have a shitstorm trying to do this, right?
I'm thinking the equivalent of Karma Fleet, right? A mining fleet that's basically easy to get into and everyone is pretty much allowed in.
Anybody can get into fucking goons. Anybody can get into most of these nullsec alliances. They want more people, right? We want more people to join, but you've got to be a participant in that organization, right? You can't be a taker.
There's a few checks and balances to make sure that certain people are who they say they are. But even so, if you have like kind of Eric and Scythe said, like, you're gonna have to make sure that people are going to be using your your services to refine and reprocess, that kind of thing. And when it comes to industrialists, especially when you're talking about industrialists and you're talking about them mining a bunch of materials that are, like, at least at the moment, hyperinflated, and probably will be even more hyperinflated when it actually hits. Like, the cost of jumping to a jump freighter like 2 jumps is going to be nothing in comparison to the the
value of the ore
that you're going to get, like the profit that you're going to get out of it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you're neutral, you defeat the whole concept of nullsec and SOV, right? It just doesn't work.
I mean, I love the intention of CCP wanting to open up, moon mining and moon collection, and like the whole T2 process to be more open to more people. But it's the same kind of, I'd love it if everybody was able to sort of go out and get a Ferrari and drive around in a Ferrari. That'd be fucking awesome, But let's be realistic here, right?
Yeah, and you have to be careful too, right? If you're enabling the masses to make more money, right? The expectation is that if you're making more money or capable of making more money, you don't necessarily need SRP, right?
That's just the flow of asset values up and risk down is going to shift tremendously. It's like
right. But there's
crazy, right?
Right, but and there's no free lunch, right? You can't expect to be getting free ships anymore or as much for your ships in SRP if you're making all the money and pushing it up, right? Because otherwise, the expectation is, well, the charge to push that money up, the taxes to mine and be in that area are going to go through the roof to compensate for what you're not doing. So, in order to maintain the status quo, you don't really end up as an individual any further ahead.
Well, one of the things that I would have to tackle you on, Eric, is the idea of like, oh yeah, we won't need an SRP program anymore. Like there's a fundamental aspect of SRP that kind of sometimes flies over people's heads, sometimes to a point, and it's a bit of a psychological aspect when organizations come to the sort of the question of, do we do SRP or do we not do SRP?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically, does SRP basically incentivize people to say, you know what, this isn't a fight that I'm inclined to have to go and do, but I'm going to go and do it because the organization that wants me to fight and protect certain assets or certain things will basically allow me to do that for free, because if I lose my ship, I get my ship back.
Right.
The idea of it is basically, this isn't my asset that I'm going to defend, but the person whose asset it is will provide me with a new ship and new fit, basically with the ISK for a new ship if that ship gets blown up. So that's the sort of like the psychological aspect of providing SRP kind of basically boosts your fleet turnout, the numbers in fleet. So
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that that no SRP will be required, right? Because we're doing bottom up, financing, right? What I'm saying is, as an individual, the expectation needs to be set that if the alliance isn't getting all the money that they used to get from an income perspective, right? In order to continue some of those programs and things that they're doing, they have to replace that income. There's only one way to replace that income. It's taxation of the individual, right? So,
in that
so
case,
when you look at that,
it's a more modern economy that's going to arise from this, right? It's going to be more capitalistic and less socialistic, because
I don't think
SRP stuff is pretty much not a very well. I don't think it's a very good incentivizer to get people to actually participate. I think things like they've also started the public fitting tool, right? That's also being introduced. So that means that if the hull is maybe SRP'd, then the fit is what's going to be making the difference, right? And that's going to be on an individual level. So you're going to get something more like a capitalist economy pretty much everywhere. The ones that are going to introduce something like that is going to be the winners.
Yeah, well, any SRP is a socialistic construct, right? Taxation isn't necessarily more capitalistic, right? Let's be clear.
It's not like we're suddenly moving into some like unknown territory of taxation. Like we've had taxation on, bottom up taxation for years and years and years, like almost decades, I would probably imagine. Like, like every single time you go out and blow up a route, like you get taxed by your corp a certain percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's already been established. It's just basically what we're doing. What's happening now is, all areas of, both personal and corporate kind of money making is being brought under the whole idea of taxation. Like, now you're able to tax, or at least be able to see what you can tax miners for, with hard numbers.
But you can't tax them because there's no mechanic to tax them, right?
No, it's an actual technical mechanic.
It's business cost, right? You pay to access the service that is in the structures that's pretty much taking over from NPC stuff. So it's going to be a totally player-controlled industrial complex, right? That means that you control whether anyone can even build locally in your space, because you're not going to let them launch structures, right? So it's a structure-based stuff.
You can say, but you don't have an easy way to control it, right? There is no taxation built for this, and there hasn't been alliance-based taxation in a good way at all from CCP, right? I mean, for ratting taxes in GSF, right, we deposit money in advance, they deduct that based on what they see out of the API. It's completely external to the game.
No, but it all moves on to things like fees and percentage takes on industrial things, like even on the market, right? The broker fees are basically controlled by the structure.
Yeah, but you can easily bypass all of that, right? So
I mean, you fell out.
You can easily bypass all of those costs, right? There's no way to lock somebody into actual taxation of that cost. The only way to do that is if CCP were actually to actualize a tax against the mining and what you mined in that belt, which would be insane to try and code, right? But understand, CCP doesn't have taxation right under the system, and they haven't for a very long time.
No, you don't need taxation at that point.
Sure
You need taxation in the point of exchange. So whether you're doing contracts or activating the market, that's where you need
But there's no taxation on contracts. There's no taxation on contracts.
Not yet. But
that's what I'm saying.
Same with the CSM is trying to push for splitting up the payment stuff into 2 tiers. So you have a percentage take and a flat fee that you can set in the whole ACL on the structures. Stuff like that is going to eventually come. So all these new economy things are going to be introduced, and I'm pretty sure that the Economic Council at CCP is very much ahead of
Soon, TM, soon. It's not there, and that's my point. You have no way to do it, right? And if I don't like the market tax in Delve, I just ship my shit to JITA, where everybody else sells it, and I get a discount that I get, right? I don't like the refining there, I go refine somewhere else. What I'm saying is there's no way to lock this in.
No, that's called free market.
There's no way to, there's no way to lock it in, but you have to look at it as a capitalistic kind of thing and basically incentivize people to basically look at it and go, well, I mean, if I ship it to JITA, then like I have a fuel cost attached on top of that.
You've already seen it from.
And if the selling in JITA plus the fuel cost is basically more than if I sell it locally, then I'll sell it locally, kind of thing,
Right, and that's
you
the
already
opposite.
see a benefit from a more capitalist model, right? The difference between how NCPL is trying to do this feudal system rental lord stuff still, and then the method that's going to be rolled out from Goons. Goons are going to nationalize it. That's actually a more capitalist method because that means that the actual laborers can choose their own activity levels and their own income, but then the control of the structures and the settings of taxation is basically an economic model that's based on capitalism, whereas the other is basically just feudal gangster racketeering.
No, I will argue you're wrong. And I think I froze up on the Twitch feeders. No, I did. So nationalization is anti-thematic to capitalism. Okay? Nationalization is completely opposite.
Not when it's the free fundamentals of.
It's an economic philosophy. Nationalization, ownership of the infrastructure is fucking Cuba. Okay,
guys, you're talking about ideas here, right? I kind of get where Caleb's kind of coming from in terms of.
I do too, but what I'm saying is the very concept of nationalizing is not capitalistic. So let's not even go.
Infrastructure is always supposed to be the government.
What's happening in Delve is basically, you can't. You need the raw figures to basically be able to say, okay, well, we know that X is doing Y amount of mining, etc., etc. But the thing is, if you go full capitalist on this process, you don't have the numbers, and expect ETH players to basically try and get away with murder if they can, right?
Right.
So you have to basically put together a nationalist kind of like frame for the whole thing, but provide enough room for a capitalist kind of process to occur, in that framework. That's
essentially what you need to be nationalized, but the actual activity is capitalist and free market.
Nope. The only capitalization that you would see is to allow individual corporations to do what they want, and then be the only way to capitalize. If you're going to go capitalization and use that term, is to let individual corporations do what they want and tax the corporation for the activity therein. Right? That is capitalization. Anything else, nationalization, has no bearing, no semblance to capitalization.
Well, you know, the funny thing about that is you're talking about capitalization in a sense of like corporations versus alliances. Well, you know, I mean, you know, a capital market, a capital kind of like, you know, environment. It's kind of funny because you can kind of talk, you can talk about capitalization in a, you know, individual sense, in a corporate sense, in an alliance sense. So, you know, like what level of capitalization are you talking about? Because at some point, when you look at capitalization being, you know, like, from at a individual level, you know, or at like, say, you're talking about capitalization from an alliance level. So you're basically saying like, you know, you need corporations to be able to basically, you know, work in this capitalist frame set. Well, you know what, like, isn't that basically nationalization from an alliance standpoint, if in a coalition kind of sense?
No,
like,
because you could be a one-man corporation, right? So it really doesn't matter. You're talking mechanics utilization at that point, right? So
there's three things that even Adam Smith said.
So I just find it funny because
in the private sector, it's defense, it's law, and it's infrastructure. You always want that to be the government that controls.
Yes,
that,
but you're misconstruing the term infrastructure, right? So a refinery or a market, okay, is not necessarily infrastructure. A road, a jump gate, a jump bridge, SOV space, that's infrastructure in that concept, okay? In the terms of capitalism versus nationalism, things that can be identified as companies, like a refinery, a market, etc., that is the free market, right? You can't have a nationalization of an entity and call it capitalism. You just can't fundamentally.
Yeah, but it isn't. But each one of those isn't a free entity. It's owned by somebody.
Yes, well, but that's the whole thing. Something is owned by somebody. But when a corporation can be a single individual, you're talking a mechanic infrastructure at that point, right? Of the game, right? So if I could take one character, put him in a corporation, have a refinery, charge you guys whatever I want to refine, pull off the moon, whatever I want to do, and tax you guys for it, and then I get taxed by the overriding entities, that's more capitalistic than what you're talking about. If I say every refinery is owned by Goonswarm, that's nationalization. That is not capitalism.
Yes,
that's why it's called. That's why it's called
guarantees of free market.
The thing that I really like about this conversation is the fact that, like, it's weird because the way I'm kind of looking at it is the way that, like, you know, nationalism and capitalism are like basically almost the same thing, but like you're looking at a different scale.
Well, I'm letting you use nationalization as a different term. You're looking at it
like you have to kind of look at it in terms of like a scale kind of thing. So, like, you know, in the same way that you said, like, oh, you know, if all the refineries are Goonswarm, that's nationalization. Well, not from a coalition kind of standpoint. You know, from a coalition standpoint, that's capitalization because, you know, all the refineries may be owned by Goonswarm, but it's not owned by, you know, not all the refineries are owned by Init. So Init can kind of, you know, can go in there and be capitalistic in that kind of like that framework and that kind of that viewpoint kind of thing. But so it's kind of weird how, like, when you guys are talking about that, like, you're almost talking about the same system, but it's like it's a scale thing.
And it's not the important part. The important part is the ones that are not doing the nationalization. The important part is the ones that are still trying to utilize some sort of rental racketeering empire based on feudal gangster behavior. It's not going to work because no one will work in that system.
Is that a subtle bash at PL's like leak?
Yes, it is. I read it. It's like that number is like
how long
my fucking ass.
Guys, we made it 50 minutes without shitting on PL. Fucking hell.
By the way,
fucking planning. It's like, I don't know what to do because we're not going to get our rent. I'm just going to put an arbitrary number, 25 to 35% taxation for all rents and pricing based on maximum capacities. Are you drunk?
Yes. No. By the way, you guys in the audience, you guys all know
it's so just bad. It's going to fail miserably.
You guys know that Caleb and I take opposite points no matter what, and we just pick a side and argue it, right?
God, so fucking awesome.
That's like one of the comments in the chat right now. Like, all right, I don't think you should say anything. Like, I know better than to get in between these two.
That was me my Twitch chat. I was like RJ, I don't think we said anything about this discussion. I think we've got this figured out. Is we let Eric and Caleb yell at each other, and then we comment on the fact that they said something stupid.
Well, yeah, we will.
You just stay quiet. I get into friggin' Singular, or sit into Sissy, and I start looking at the friggin' refineries and put them in the background. And this is what I do. I care about how the game looks.
Shit.
So,
oh man,
you know what? I started reading that link in Talking in Stations on the PL stuff, and I'm reading them like, holy fuck! They made fun of the joke that we made about the Viceroy system, and they're instituting this. Jesus Christ!
Now this, yeah.
Oh my God, this is hideous.
I can't wait for them to basically be running around their rental space trying to put out fires of people basically complaining about certain people being in certain people's space and not being in they should be in their other space. And
absolutely.
Like
this is where we need that clip from the Robin Hood cartoon where they're shaking the leg cast to get coins out of it. That's pretty much going to be Lady Scarlet.
The one piece I think was a little bit of panic on the Moon Goo from the CCP perspective was the announcement during eVegas that they were going to allow Moon Goo mining in 0.5 space in Empire.
A lot of people kind of basically take that kind of thing in face value and basically think, oh, I'll be able to get like Moon Goo out of 0.5 space. No, you're not. You're like, it's going to be basically a glorified
anomaly,
player-driven asteroid belt respawn.
Well, essentially, it's going to be in the middle ground between a static belt and an anomaly. Because it's player created, and then it's going to be a training wheel for Moon Goo, right? It's going to be you're defended while you're doing that, so you can pretty much learn the system and the mechanics, and you get nice control of your mineral stuff. And
so you know what do we get RVB something to fight over?
So to be clear, there's zero Moon Goo in 0.5 space.
Zero Moon Goo. There's no Moon Goo in it. It's just going to be ABCs. A, Y, B, C, D, E, F, Gs, whatever, all of them, all of them basically. But you're going to
and with the ding option, right? You're going to get the special ones if you're lucky. So that's going to double the yield.
But by the way, to be completely fair, like it's worthwhile for 0.5 and for high sec because, in all honesty, if you've ever done any kind of or talked to any miners in high sec, the chance of them getting Arknor, Bistot, or Crocite is like zero. Like here they go for Titanium because that's pretty much that's the only thing that's available there. So like. The fact that you're going to be able that they're able to potentially get ABC more ores out of high sec, out of 0.5 system is just that's that's
semi-control, right? Remember that it's semi-controlled by you. You decide when it comes out, time-wise and defense-wise, and you can almost defend it from the actual structure. So it's also going to potentially bring high-sec war deck stuff into a new perspective. So there's many benefits from this. And if it's got a yield that can actually compete with, say, static belts, I'm still saying that eventually static belts are going to go away or be nerfed to the ground because this system is so much better and so much more fun to interact with that it's going to change the high-sec economy a lot. Because right now it's like everyone is just it's like the commons. Everyone is just fighting to get out in the belt when they respawn, and then they'll just suck them dry. You can't do that with the refinery based moon drilling. The owner will still have some control, and that means that he will get first picks.
I think you're absolutely right.
You know what's kind of funny? You might actually end up seeing some like I don't know how they're going to be able to do that from a like cost perspective, but like I can imagine certain groups basically saying like, oh yeah, even if you're in high sec, like you're not allowed to mine our mining fields, and if you do, we'll basically suicide gank you. Like I can kind of imagine that happening to a degree, maybe if it's cost effective, but like I don't know.
That's why I keep saying that what we need is we need CCP to give us the player-to-player billing. Because if I can see the ledger, if I can see how much you've ninja'd out of my field, I can basically just send you a bill on a certain amount. When the outstanding bills come to a certain number, I then put out a contract to kill you.
Yeah, that's fun.
The problem the player-to-player building, you can just throw a bill on someone for nothing. So that's never going to...
Yeah, and by the way, I'm just not going to log into that. I'm going to use my other alt, so because I got 3 on per
when
account.
it comes to high sec, if you're a high sec only entity, you kind of have to look at costs versus reward kind of side of things.
I think
you don't
you
have
get
it's printing that null sec and Wormhole has.
Although the one thing that really gets picked over in high sec, particularly, it just gets cherry picked in null sec are ice fields. And if you could take an ice planet and or an ice moon, introduce an ice moon and be able to pull ice off it in ice fields, that could be very interesting, right? I mean, they've created a mechanic that has what I think outdate static fields, right, and can make a lot of things interesting, right? The other thing I wish they wouldn't have done is do the race specific fuel blocks for reactions. I wish they would have kept that more like Citadels. As long as you used a fuel block, you were okay. But that's going to make things just a pain in the ass.
Awkward. Yeah, pretty awkward.
Planet mining, fuck up the planet.
I would like to just quickly say, thank you very much, RJ, for the reoccurring subscription.
Yes,
I resubbed at the beginning of the episode and it didn't pop and it made me sad.
You gotta hit the share button at the top. It doesn't do it automatically anymore.
Where's
and when you're talking about ice,
it's up at the top of the chat,
Oh,
or it
sorry.
should be. That's where I found mine.
So we got 3 minutes left, Caleb. Go
Eric,
ahead.
do you remember that the graphic artist actually wanted to do something with suns? I would really love to see a solar siphoning platform so you can get gases from suns.
Like plasma.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So you suck out the plasma and then you get gas resources.
That could be interesting.
And just to answer friggin' Noisy's question, I went and looked at the dev blog for the refineries. So has CCP announced what orders will come from moons in 0.5 or so on, and it didn't say anything in the dev blog that I just picked up real quick. So I didn't see anything.
At Vegas, they just said we're going to allow this to happen. Moon mining in
they said that it's
0.5.
minerals and there's going to be trace amounts of ABCs, as far as I remember. That's pretty much what they said about
was wondering
0.5.
what type. It's just what type. So
I might have been a little
New
drunk.
types, all new types of roids, pretty much.
The thing is, EVE players are so good at basing things off speculation and stuff that CCP don't want to give you hard numbers because they know that people will speculate the crap out of those numbers.
Oh yeah,
so
that's what we do.
There's been some Reddit posts and stuff like that on EVE subreddit, basically saying with people on the test server saying, oh yeah, these are the ores that are coming out and these are the numbers that essentially they break down to. Well, they're all kind of work in progress kind of numbers, and they're subject, and I'm going to pretty much say that it's certain that it's going to change. They might even change it a couple of days before the actual, or even on the day.
Mm-hmm.
When the patch hits, they're not gonna allow people to speculate that easily, or be able to speculate with that degree of certainty.
They usually say when the numbers are set, and I think they did that recently. The stuff that's on CC now is going to be the one that's going to be on launch day. So except for the moon contents that might actually be open to change. And they did say ABCs, but I think the thing that they said is that they're not going to put Mexilon in the moon.
Okay.
I would also like to just very quickly, Eric. I'd also like to say that that particular information comes courtesy from Caleb, a market speculator and a PvP market speculator.
That's the caveat.
Yeah. So 1 minute. Last question. Right. Caveat. So Fozzie says that. That he doesn't expect a whole lot of market turmoil because there's so much built up, pent up moon goo that is off the market. I'm going to go around the room. Caleb, do you agree with that, or is it going to go? The market going to go crazy?
Market is going to go haywire and crazy, and it's not going to settle until 6 months out. So Fozzie is wrong.
RJ?
I think the people that have been saving up and expecting this are going to be fine. I don't know about I don't think the market's really going to take too much of a hit.
Okay.
I think it'll be a gradual kind of gradient.
Well, markets are based on certainty. That's the one thing that's basically true on both here and in real life. and there's so much uncertainty in this particular change that like it's going to take a long time for the market to actually stabilize in this. So there's going to be a lot more stuff going on.
Scythe?
Oh, it's going to fuck the market because you're talking about people saving up shit.
Yep.
We're fucking gamers. We're playing a game that we can quit here next month if we don't want to play anymore. So I don't think people are saving them.
I'm going to say multiple levels of uncertainty all around the market in its entirety is going to be in upheaval for the most part. Nothing's going to be sacred, not just Moon Goo. And with that, we're out of here. Everybody say bye. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for the subs.